From Peru presents the panel Peru's Mining Projects 2021, organized by the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers.
Welcome to the Prospectors and Developer Association of Canada, PIDAC, the world's premier mineral exploration and mining convention. As the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers, we would like to thank from Peru for inviting us to host this conference. The conference today will be Peru's Mining Projects 2021, and it will be led by the engineer Luis Rivera, former president of the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers, who will give us an overview of Peru mining projects, its geological endowment, and its great investment potential. Before his presentation, we would like to share Engineer Rivera's profile. He's actually the VP for the Americas region for gold fields since 2016. He has been general manager of MMG Las Bambas, general manager of copper at Glencore, Peru, and executive general manager for all Extrata copper operations in Peru, general manager of copper Tintaya and Antapacay, Extrata operation of Minera Alumbrera in Argentina for over a decade. He has at least 30 years of experience in managing operation and projects. He's an engineer from San Marcos University and has an MBA from the Polytechnic University of Madrid and specialized studies at Kellogg School of Management. He is current president of AmCham, the Chamber of Commerce from the United States. Well, with all these words, I let the word to engineer Luis Rivera for his presentations. Welcome, Lucho.
Thanks, Carlos, and thanks, PDC, for inviting us to showcase Peru to the world and through this big conference today in a virtual mode. Thank you again. But let me give you a brief summary of what is Peru. Peru is located in the Pacific coast on the South American continent, facing one of the biggest markets, the Asia-Pacific market, including China, which is the main consumer of metal nowadays. Peru is got different TLCs and commercial agreements with more than 26 countries, including China, one of the few, Japan, Korea, and North America, and Europe for sure, including a new one with the United Kingdom. Peru is one of the few countries that enjoys investment grade, as you see in the table down below, with only Chile and Colombia in the continent. And the country risk remains the lowest, despite of the pandemic. It's one of the lowest in the region, 1.15. But we have to reckon that the pandemic in 2020 impacted in the country. So the economy decreased by 11.5%. But as well, in that sense, it is expected to grow in a similar rate in 2021. And on all this economy, all our activities, mining in Peru contributed with more than 11% of our GDP and more than 60% of our exports value. Let me move to the next slide. In here, we have a brief summary of our geological endowment. As you see there, Peru ranks the main precious metals. Peru ranks on the top 5. Let's see, copper. Copper is the second world producer after Chile, and we enjoy 11% of the global reserves. Silver, the second, gold, the 8th, zinc, the 3rd, and lead, we are the 5th. We have to remember that as well, Peru is the first tin producer in the world, the first bismuth producer in the world, so and other metals, including lithium. Lithium is becoming the metal of the future. We do have reserves in lithium as well in southern Peru. As along with Chile in the last few years, Peru has been ranked always in the top 2, top 3 in the Fraser Ranking Institute, as well in the Standard & Poor's World Mining Exploration Ranking. And in 2019, despite of COVID, Peru captured 4% of the global exploration budget. And on the map on the right, you see one of the flagships we have in the mining projects in Peru. Cajamarca, we've got in northern Peru, Yanacocha Sulfurs is more than $2 billion investment. In central Peru, we do have Toromocho, is as well a big expansion of the copper porphyry. In south of Lima, we have Mina Justa in Ica, more than $1,600 million invested. And an upcoming project is Safranal in southern Peru, and as well the pending Tia Maria in southern Peru. Of our portfolio, based on the mining minister of Mines statistics and information, we do have more than $56 billion in 46 projects, almost $60 billion to invest in a big portfolio. That will be better displayed, they will be better discussed later in the presentation by my colleague, Roberto Maldonado. Okay, as mentioned, many of these projects are located only in 4 provinces, Cajamarca, Apurímac, Moquegua, and Arequipa. I will not drill down in this information. We'll discuss this during the presentation and debate, but just pay attention to the graphic on the right. At PFS level and FS level, pre-feasibility and feasibility level, we have almost 80% of these projects. So a big chunk of this portfolio is in a very well advanced stage. We just need to promote these projects to become a reality. Okay, let's move to the next one. In this investment, where this $60 million money is located, in what metals? Well, more than 60% is focused on copper, 12% on gold. For sure, it does make sense. Copper is the metal of a green world. In a green world, a new reality where we promote electromobility, we'll promote remote working, where we promote the technology, copper will become more and more important. And gold, it will always be the metal for protection. In a new world where risk, where uncertainty is becoming the normal, gold will be there to protect the money of the investors. It's the reason why we should be focused on promoting those 2 metals. They will be all the time valid, and they will be always very good to exploit with good returns. And in that sense, it will permit the Peruvian government to have good taxes, good incomes, access to capital, that at this point in time is always difficult to gain access. How this investment has evolved during the last few years? Well, you see the variations between $6, $7, $8 billion. And these variations obey the metal prices, market condition, demand, offer, etc. But we have to reckon that in 2016 there was a big delay, a big reduction, essentially due to a rally of new regulations that didn't help the mining activities. So I think that all the authorities are authorities, and those public policy makers are aware of this. And it's very well known by everybody now in the country that we need to fix this. There is a good opportunity to improve this permit scheme and to gain speed in this investment that we need in Peru. Last year, the expenditures in projects has been around $4 billion, a reduction compared to 2019, for sure, due to COVID. But how about the short term? How about the short-term development of this investment? As you see in the graphic in the screen, this list has been produced by the Mining Institute with information from the Minister of Mining. As you see there, we expect around between $1 billion and $3 billion in investment per year during the next few years. We are talking about $12 billion. But gotta be aware that this list are probably many of these projects will not occur, but as well many others could be included. By instance, we don't have in here Tia Maria, we do not have in here La Granja. So those are projects that could eventuate in the next 5 years. In terms of mining production in 2020, it was affected by the pandemic. As you see, in terms of volume, we produced less copper and gold. We were heavily impacted by the stoppage of our operations last year in March and April. At the time, we didn't know what COVID was. We all were learning about COVID, and in coordination with authorities, many mining companies decided to stop 100% of operations and just resumed operations once we learned how to deal with COVID. And in terms of exportations, the metal prices helped us. Copper reduced the value of money we received, but no, it wasn't that as bad as the volume we reduced. And gold, you know that in last year, gold hit records, metal price records that helped us in terms of sales. As you see, it's a 32% reduction in volume, but only 11% reduction in terms of revenues and exportation, sorry. But mining investment, as mentioned before, it decreased almost 30% compared to the previous year in 2019. But something to keep in mind, you are planning to visit Peru, you're planning to invest in Peru, don't forget, Peru is a mining jurisdiction, one of the best in the world. So we do have a very sound mining ecosystem, very comprehensive activities in all terms. So we have a mining assets, we do have mining deposits, we do have mining operations, but as well, we do have all the surrounding activities required to operate successfully. We do have big suppliers, big OEMs do have houses and headquarters in Lima. We have big mining contractors, national and international, very efficient, very modern, first class. We do have engineering houses and big consultant companies, Peruvian and international ones. We do have training centers, and we do have mining education in all the provinces in Peru. Many universities teach mining as a career, and many institutes teach mining as a technical career as well. Mining legislation, we mentioned there are opportunities to improve in terms of permitting, but our mining legislation is clear in terms of the access to the mining property is very well managed by INGEMET, equivalent to the American Geological Survey. And we do have a lot of institutional support coming from academia, but as well coming from associations and federations, such as the Mining Institute, as the one I represent as well, and the Mining Society, among others. Finally, in terms of the vision, 2 years ago, sponsored by the national government, a group of people got together to produce a long-term vision for mining. It was called a RIMAI group. RIMAI means speak, talking in Quechua language. So And we define the vision. That vision is stated there. You can read it, but I just want to reinforce that it says that Peruvian gotta be an inclusive activity, but as well, it has to be sustainable and competitive. And as part of that process, in 2020, and was well promoted by the national government, a commission to find initiatives for sustainable mining development was created, led by Dr. Roxana Barrantes, and they coincidentally agreed with the RIMAI group had produced. And they finally recommended specific activities for these 5 pillars. You can read them: social involvement, environmental management, regulatory improvement, fiscal contribution, and informal and illegal mining. So, but both of these groups, both of these 2 commissions recognized that mining is required to have a good and healthy economy. And Peru do need mining to become a developed country. Well, I want to close my presentation with this slide.
Thank you, Lucho. It has been a very, very comprehensive overview of the Peruvian mining sector and the relation that it has with the economy, and our development. Now, we are going to the panel where we have 3 distinguished representative persons from Peru. One is Claudia Cooper, former Minister of Economic and Finance, who is going to talk now about the macroeconomic view, I imagine, of the mining sector in Peru. As I told you, Claudia has been former Minister of Economic and Finance, actually is the chairman of the Perumin, our big feria in Peru, mining feria in Peru, and also is the chairman of the stock exchange from Lima, and from member of the board of 6 or 4 additional companies in Peru. Now, we let Claudia to give us her view about the mining sector in the Peruvian economy. Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you to Luis for this very comprehensive presentation. Whenever you hear about the Peruvian economics, the Peruvian economy is a very successful one if you see it from a macroeconomic perspective. I mean, we enjoy very above the media of the average of the region growth, and also very stable economy with very low prices, very stable exchange rates, and very low interest rates. And that's because the mining sector is, and that's because we've developed an economic model in the past 3 decades regarding, an open economy, regarding the equal treatment from foreign investment and domestic investments. And that's a constitutional framework that actually allows for that. We cannot actually think about the Peruvian economy without thinking about the mining sector. It's very key in actually having achieved that stability. What we have, and we said that in his presentation, is 2/3 of our exports come from the mining sector, and that actually gives us the possibility of a very, very stable exchange rate. But it's not only, the dollars or the foreign currency doesn't come to Peru only through the exports, but also from the foreign investment. And in that regard, the mining sector is also key. It's the most important sector regarding foreign investment in Peru. So we have a very, very healthy balance of payments, and that actually is the key for achieving this very stable exchange rate we actually enjoy. A very stable exchange rate also imposes, actually allows for very stable prices. And the 2 of them allow for very, very low interest, long-run interest rates in our country, which actually are an engine for investment. So the good economic performance in Peru has a lot to do with a mining sector that has been very competitive in the country and worldwide competitive, I may say. So when you see also the competitive indicators of the country, we are worldwide, a worldwide actor, and we have very competitive geological resources that actually allow the mining sector to be that sound in our country. The thing is, there are many challenges that remain and that we still have to confront. The first one is that investment in exploration is actually lagging. And it's lagging because of many reasons. The first one, I think, is that our competitiveness is very high on a geological basis, but not on an institutional basis. Institutions in Peru are very weak. And so we have been actually enhancing the whole normativity system. I mean, we are all producing normativity every year, but we are not enforcing our institutions. So that actually induced to this proliferation of a very complex regulation that is actually complicating the life for the companies that want to explore in Peru. So we don't have in the pipeline any major project, I mean, if that is actually ready to take off, such a project we had in previous years, such as Antamina or Cajamarca or Mina Justa or Toromocho. We need those projects to advance, or some of the same scope that can advance and actually ensure that this stability that the mining sector is providing to our external accounts actually remain in the long run. The other source of stability that our mining sector produces is the fiscal one. We still, our income tax, our corporate income tax is actually, the mining sector on that regard is very important. I mean, the income tax collection is on the mining, in the mining sector is very important, and that is allowing the country to try to distribute those resources into the regions where the mining sector is actually having the most activities. The problem with that is our distribution model of all that wealth is not working very well. So the population that actually surround the mining projects, that they don't feel that they are getting included in all this wellness. So that's something we have to address at some point. We have to make adjustments to the model we have, or we have to change that model completely. The model is actually based on the distribution of these mining proceeds, of these mining taxes within the regions, and the mining sector is actually making their operations. The problem is that it's very rigid. I mean, that money can almost entirely be spent in infrastructure, and we had a model of infrastructure building that is not working at all because of corruption and because of the lack of capabilities of the local authorities to make good projects on that and develop good infrastructure so that the areas surrounding the mines can develop at the speed that they have to do in order to make the political consensus towards those activities. So we need to build that, we need to address that, and we need to address a political system within the regions that actually allow for more exploration and more mining projects in the future. And we need for that, for the people to get to feel that they are still included in this and all this richness that is coming into the region where they live. So basically, I want to say that, and for that, and I want to take another idea that Ruiz made in the presentation. We need a vision. We have a vision. We have a document that is being built for how do we, I mean, what is the vision for the mining sector in the long run? The problem with that vision is that we need we need it to be more inclusive. I mean, we need more people to buy the idea that is embedded in that vision. So we need the politicians to be actually to agree on that, not only the national ones, but also the leaders within the regions. We need to make that vision much more inclusive so that we can start to develop that, and we will make the political waiver in order for the projects to smooth much more than they are now. I mean, most of them are being paralyzed because people in the region are paralyzing them because they feel that they are not included in all that richness. So basically, I want to say that our economy has been very, very, very deeply damaged because of this pandemic. And the reconstruction of the productivity of the country has to take into account the mining sector. not only because of their preponderance in the macroeconomic situation, but also because the mining sector is the most productive region in Peru. Actually, productivity of labor in the mining sector is the largest by far in the whole country. So anything that we want to do to reconstruct the economy of our country has to take into account the development of the mining sector. So basically, what I'll try to say at the end is that actually the discrepancy of Peruvians around how the mining sector should develop in the world, we have that has to be the main area of discussion. So we have to switch from the social conflicts towards that is being built in the regions towards the discussion of how do we want the country to develop in the future and what is the role of the mining sector in that development.
Thank you, Claudia. It has been very clear, and you pointed out how important is the mining activity for the stability of the country. It's not only the direct effect of the mining in the economy, but it's the effect of the mining has in the economy as an important stabilizer of the different issues, because it's a big contributor in the external account, and it's a big contributor to the taxes. Then the equilibrium in the economic terms is very important. Thank you. Now, we are going for the second member of the panel, Mr. Carlos Alarco, President of Latin America region for Bechtel. Please, Carlos, could give you us your words.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, I agree with all the comments of my the previous speakers about the importance of mining. But it is important for us to recognize and understand that in mining, Peru is a blessed country. Because if you compare in other countries, even in Latin America or in other continents, I mean, we have everything to develop the economy recovery through mining. We have projects of all sizes, of all levels of investment. We have all kinds of commodities. We have gold, copper, zinc, silver, iron, tin, lithium, which is not the same case in other countries. And we also have diversity in the geography, because all these projects are located in all parts of Peru. I mean, the opportunity we have to recover the economy using the mining sector as a motor is huge. And it will be really, really a pity if we don't take that advantage as a country, because the recovery is there. We just need to promote and put these projects in construction and then in operation. We will see how fast the country can recover the economy. I would like to share, if it's possible, some slides to give an idea of how we see the market, the mining market. And this is just an idea, but complementing Lucho first slides, what we see here is the regions, and that's what I meant when I said, okay, we have diversity, projects all around the country. But if we go, and this is I think that the most important point of the message that I would like to share with you. Cajamarca, for example, if we see Cajamarca and we want to focus in specific regions, we see Cajamarca, the same numbers that we had in the previous slide, but we can see a concentration of projects that will be very interesting to analyze. Another region is Apurímac, with 18% of the total investment. And we can identify, I mean, all the information is there, but it's important to focus on some aspects when analyzing, because the other aspects is very interesting as a country, because in other continents or in other countries in the region, most of the projects are expansions. What we have here is a very interesting portfolio of greenfield projects. So new mines and new opportunities, okay? And some expansions that of course are important, but this is the distribution. And if we see the total market, the universe is $56 billion. And my recommendation to all the persons, companies, and institutions interested is to make some analysis to focus, because this is a universe that is really large. Some projects are in pre-feasibility stage, so in a very early stage, actually, and then feasibility, detail engineering, construction. Each person, institution, or company could require some parameters so they can focus on the important thing for them. I will give an example. Let's say that you are interested in copper and gold. You have the opportunity to focus on copper and gold projects and understand that the amount that will be invested in copper and gold is still very interesting. You can filter by X, Y, Z mining companies because you have those companies in other regions. You can do the same, and you can have a filter by clients. The gold probability, it is true that for the ministry, they have some parameters, but we can also consider a gold probability based on finance plan really already solved. The project corporate of the company has the approval to go, permits already solved, and a clear scope of work. And that can give us maybe a shorter list, but there are projects in the regions that I mentioned previously that are really interesting. And finally, you can put together the 3 filters or 2 filters or 4 filters, and you can get in a very easy way the focus on where do you want to concentrate your effort. So this is the reason I say Peru is a blessed country in terms of mining, because we have everything to offer to the investors, to the suppliers, to other engineering companies. I mean, there's a lot of work for everyone. And what we need is, as said in the previous speakers, is more solid institutions and clear rules, so we can put together all these projects and have the mining sector as a motor of the economy recover. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Carlos.
Thanks, Carlos. It has been a really nice presentation. Now we have some other additional issues interested to mining. It's not only that the mining sectors go for the complete economy, but for local economy. And that's something that you have mentioned, and is very, very important. When you develop a project, normally you develop the territory that is around the project, and that's very important. And well, it's quite interesting the way that you present the different alternatives that the mining market give to the different kind of stockholders in the mining sector. You have providers, you have investors, you have workers, you have everything in this, and that's quite interesting. Thank you very much, Carlos. And now we have Roberto Maldonado, VP of the Institute of Mining Engineer, who is going to give us some words about the different projects in Peru and in the different geographic areas of Peru.
Thanks, Carlos. Very nice presentation, and also the comment of the panel goes that something that's strategic for Peru to have a long-term planning for the mining sector. So going back to the presentation, I think it's important to note how the project's timeline is presenting according to the projection execution stage. So it shows the sequence for the future investment that could be related to the projection of production, could be the basic foundation for the Peruvian government long-term mining plan. That's something that could be summarized what actually is is printing out, in the report of the Peruvian mining ministry. So the data is there. So actually, what we need is a long-term plan, and the strategy has been noted for for our presentators right now. So that's quite well. But I want to focus my presentation in two aspects of that. So the first one is related to distribution of investment in Peru. Your major projects are in Peruvian region that are already related to mining activity. When we talk about the south of Peru, we have southern, we have Toquepala, we have Guajone, now we have Cajamarca. So it's related to south. You go further is Cerro Verde, a huge mining operation over there. Coming up, Antapacay goes to La Bamba. So we most of the production that is in the pipeline is located in the south of Peru, Moquegua, Apurímac, as we saw in the map. With that, Peru is going to produce 3 million tons of copper fine. So that's quite good for us because it consolidates our position as the world's second largest copper producer. So my concern is that I want to highlight is the project located in the north of Peru. For example, Carlos mentioned the Cajamarca, which showed the project. Also, we have Cajamarca, we have Lambayeque, we have Piura, with huge projects. And we see the amount, investment related to Cajamarca. Cajamarca is, the region that has potential investment that could change, many things, in that area, that region. So besides that, we have, projects like Conga, Galeno, Uchiquiay, as it was said before, La Granja. So in Lambayeque, we have Cañariaco. With that, we're talking about, large projects that can impact, social and economically, the area of Peru. We talk about sometimes about this hub, the north hub of the Peruvian, north of Peru. So this is quite good, a good possibility, to increase not only our market share, but also, everything related to the mining. As Claudia pointed out, we talk about employment, we talk about APB, we talk about, the development of the people there. So that's a chance that we need to address again under, the visibility of our long-term planning. My second comment is about exploration. It's not in the presentation of Lucho, because the presentation of Luis is focuses in the projects that have an investment over $70 million. All right, so it means that all the projects lower than 70 million is not there, because it's the way to have online. The project that were presented at least has a pre-feasibility study. So it is relevant to comment that, thanks to the potential of the geological potential that we have in Peru, there are also important projects in exploration stage. Some of them already with conceptual studies, as was said before, but they are in different, process in the exploration and also in the process of permitting process. And that's one issue, because we talk about, exploration in different scales. We are talking about 64 exploration projects that are, in different stages. And that is going to be, the possibility to have a new Las Bambas, right? A new Cajamarca, Uchiquiay is there. So we have, a huge potential, a very important number of exploration projects, accounted for 64 exploration right now, that are right now, in the account of, the Ministry of Mining. So that's quite important in our, pipeline, to have the support for the future, projects and the stage of, feasibility or pre-feasibility of engineering, detail engineering. So finally, Peru is a mining country with mining projects pipelines that ensures, long-term mining plan. And my concern that this government should be the promoter of the more sustainability mining projects supported by who actually makes up this mining ecosystem that was mentioned before. Okay, back to you, Carlos.
Thank you, Roberto. This is another important view. But now we have all these elements about the mining sector in Peru. And I do have a question for you that could be interesting to answer. How did the mining sector react to COVID in Peru? I don't know if you could give us some views about it, the performance of the sector on this, security measures, standards, etc. I don't know if we could start with Lucho to talk about this.
Oh, thanks, Carlos. I think as a miner, I will tell you that big mining companies, no big mining companies in Peru and around the world are used to protocols, are used to standards. Given that, by instance, health and safety is always the first value or objective in many mining companies. In my personal case, the company I work for, I'm probably coinciding with other mining companies, health and safety is the first value. It's a non-negotiable. So we are used to put up people first in all decisions. When COVID came, what we did essentially was adopt, prepare, change those existing protocols to counterfight COVID. So it's the reason why the mining industry in general, around the globe, not only in Peru, around the globe, faced very well the COVID. So even in specific mining jurisdictions such as Chile, Argentina, Mexico, mining activities were not stopped, were considered critical activity. And all those jurisdictions recognized that mining could face properly the COVID. And we did. It's the reason why, despite of the sad metrics we have in our country, we should reckon that in the mining industry, the statistics were not that bad. So, in other words, mining was somehow prepared to fight and to face COVID. And it is the best place, if you want, to survive the future wave, even with the future vaccination coming. Mining will be always prepared because it's very disciplined activity. And as mentioned, I repeat, used to protocols, used to standards.
Thank you, Lucho. I don't know if Carlos would like to say something about it.
Yes, I 100% agree with Lucho, and mining companies and the companies that we are mentioning in the presentation are all used to the highest standards and putting the person as number one. We have couple of examples. In Chile, in 2020, we needed to continue the construction of different copper concentrators, large projects in which the COVID created a challenge in the cost, because of course you can imagine the construction team needed to spend some days of quarantine. Also the camps at the site was a challenge. We needed to transform all the camps, and all the time that people go from his home to the mine required more days. So it translated into cost. So what we did, and we are doing that for years, is try to create innovation to compensate the increase of cost due to COVID. So when you see our construction areas, you see a series of drones, for example. You see a series of people with different digital tools to better control the construction and to look on innovation, but innovation with a purpose. The purpose is to be more productive, find ways to be more efficient, and compensate for the customer the high cost of COVID. So these are the best moment to create. If we had something in mind for innovation, this is the moment to apply it. Use the young people that are really prepared for this kind of developments and put in place innovation, but innovation with purpose. The purpose is to compensate or fight against the effects of COVID using digital tools. That's my message, Carlos.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Roberto, would you like to comment something?
First of all, I think the mining team in Peru was really fast to react because, there's a culture based on discipline, based on standard that allows the mining to react really fast. From that, there are some, things I had to point out that they were positive. The first thing that is positive is really, to evaluate our standards, safety and operation standard, in order to keep working, but at the same time keep working with high standard of safety standard, also taking care of the people. So in there, there is, innovation and technology in order to see where's the people actually, in order to see how is, the people related to. So there is innovation, in place of the operation. But at the same time, you reduce the workforce at the place because technology allows to use the communication, that was there, but it was not used, properly. Right now, home office is part of the, of the mining companies. I don't know how much of this home office can stay. I am a consultant. I have my company, and I keep working all this time. I'm working right now because the way it's working right now, the engineering is quite different, right? And so projects like, for say, San Gabriel, Yumpac, etc. keep working because communication has allowed us to keep going, and the communication and virtual communication and data transfer, all that allows the planning department at the site also to work with planning, and probably the planning who works in long-term planning is not at the site. It means a cultural change also. You know what I mean with that? It means traditionally, the people wants to see the people around there. Now we know the technology allow us to work, in other ways in order to rely more, in technology, in communication, and data, etc. At the same time, I want to point out, the relation that we have with communities. Obviously, one thing that was putting in place was how the mining, reacts in order to be closer with the communities, and in this critical stage that was really, and still is going on, the dangers could be affection, not only, in the operation side, but, in the place related to the mining companies. I think that's thing that should be pointed out, the good relation that, come from this, pandemic and the reaction of the company to be, there in order to help, local communities. Those are my comments. Thanks.
Thank you, Roberto. Now, Claudia, after these comments, and we know that the mining sector have recovered at least almost 100% of its capacity to produce. But now, seeing in a little longer term, how do you see the mining sector investment for the future of Peru? It is important. How important is the mining investment, new investment, to the development of Peru, having in account the crisis that we have had with the COVID?
Well, it's absolutely key. Basically, what is going to happen in the near future is that the mining sector is going to probably increase its participation in the macroeconomics of the country, because we have had, the biggest sectors in our country is services and commerce, especially services is probably the whole economy is being shrinked. So the mining sector is going to become much more important than it is now. So any sort of plan to recover the damaged economy in Peru will pass actually to enhance or motivate the mining sector to grow at a proper level. We need the foreign reserves and we need the taxes that the mining sector is going to impose. Probably the tax participation of the mining sector is going to enlarge in the numbers for the 2020 and 2021. In the longer run, we need definitely the mining investment. As I've said, the mining sector is actually the one that actually brings the other investment up also. I mean, it's a signal. We have had that the sector has been very important in the mining project stock. So whenever you see the pipeline of projects for the whole country, usually the mining sector is almost half of it. So and it not only works on a direct way, but also on an indirect one. Whenever you start having, because of its size, a major investment project actually improves the growth rate of the country, and that attracts other investment in other areas as well. So also the mining sector is like a beacon. You know, if the country actually complies with the standards that the big investment needs, other sectors are going to get in as well. So as I've said, anything that actually how to make any vision for the country effective is having a plan for the mining sector. And I think everybody's going to understand that, especially whenever we have our economy that damaged. Not only, I mean, the whole region is damaged, the whole world, but in Peru, if we want to have an effective and speedy economic recovery in the short and in the long run, we need to incentive the mining sector. Because as Carlos said, we have every metal on every commodity and in every region of the country. So we are blessed with that, and it's going to be very effective if we actually allow the sector to develop and to grow and to make and to have like the clear and stable indication that it's a sector that we need to develop. And I think that's going to happen. Probably we're going to have that in the near future. Whenever we have to discuss how are we going to get out effectively from this pandemic sort of consequences we've had.
Well, thanks to everybody. Thanks to Claudia, Lucho, Carlos, and Roberto. It has a really nice conference, and I hope that it has been useful for the PDAC. And again, thanks to Prom Peru to allow us to be in this important conference for the mining world. Thank you very much. Take care. I'll see you. Bye-bye.
On behalf of Prom Peru, we want to thank the collaboration of the Peruvian Institute of Mining Engineers and all the companies and speakers who participated in this panel.